Hey guys, Future Webby here. Just wanted to take a second to let you guys know that today's episode is going to talk about some heavier topics. While we do strive to make sure that everything is completely appropriate and would be safe for anyone in the family to listen to, there are some weightier topics today about some things that may potentially happen to women and other groups inside of the gaming community. As well as that, I want to let you guys know that we have two incredible guests that are coming onto the show today. But unfortunately, I am not necessarily an incredible videographer, and I recorded some of the wrong video footage. So you'll notice some of the cameras are a little more blurry than I would have liked in this. Pardon our progress, but it's one of those conversations that I just don't think that we can miss out on hearing. So I opted to make do with what we had and release it anyway, because I think it was a really cool conversation. So be sure to give some love to PreePonee and LokiRampage in their respective platforms after the show. And thank you guys so much for being supporters and members of this community. Let's get on with it. Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in to another very special episode of the web show. I have been so looking forward to today, more than you guys realize, because as far as you're concerned, you just clicked on the video and bada bing, like you just found it. You're like, oh man, this is great. This is super interesting. But from our perspective, I wanted to do this for over a month. And unfortunately, the world is complicated, but fortunately, the guests that we have today are out there killing it in the world, and the one that you see right here, Miss PreePonee, has been doing things that are probably more important than the web show anyway all month, so she might get into that a little bit. She's not the only one that's here with us. We got LokiRampage really looking forward to this conversation, and today what we're going to be doing is just kind of an open table kind of discussion, because something that I've seen and that I really am super underqualified to talk about is the differences of experiences in gaming, in the gaming industry, when you're playing online, whether you're streaming online, all these different like layers that people experience just solely because of the the pitch, the frequency of their voice, their gender, like how they appear or how they come off. Basically, what we're getting at is the whole thing different if you're a gamer guy or a gamer girl? I think we all already do technically know the answer to that, but I'm going to do my best to speak the least about it. And starting that off, I'm going to give these ladies a chance to introduce themselves. So, PreePonee, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so my name is Pree. I'm a family-friendly Christian streamer, stream on Twitch, and I also produce content other places, but you can mostly find me on Twitch. I am a 32-year-old mother to two, a 10-month-old and a 2.5-year-old, and I'm also a wife, and my husband and I run a youth ministry for, it serves about 100 churches, so that's me.
Wow. And what she forgot to include there is that she has found the supplement that I've been looking for that makes it so you no longer have to sleep. This is the only way that she fits all that. So absolutely,
I need that.
Absolutely crazy. Well, I guess it's just having kids. I hear you don't sleep a lot when you have them.
No.
But no, you need that for that. Well, Pree, thank you so much for carving out some time in an incredibly busy schedule to have this conversation with us, and we want to do justice and give Loki the time to introduce herself as well. So, LokiRampage, what's up, girl? Tell us a little about yourself.
Hey, what's up? I don't even know how to follow up after that one. Oh my goodness. No, so yeah, I'm LokiRampage. I am a 23, not 22-year-old anymore, 23-year-old.
Ooh, happy birthday!
I also, thanks. It was in July. Thank you. I also stream on Twitch, but I'm not a family-friendly Christian streamer, but I do put up some pretty cool content. I do not have kids either, but I do have a cat and a dog. And when I'm not streaming on Twitch, I am a full-time veterinary assistant and in veterinary technician school. So that is what I do outside of this.
So one thing I'm learning, Topaz, from hearing both of what they had to say is that girl gamers in the content creation sphere far more capable than me. Far more capable than me. So, well, I'm super excited. Thank you, Loki, for coming on as well. Thank both of you. So you guys already know Topaz and I, if you've been following the show a little bit, and we had a little bit of a chance to kind of catch up and get to know each other off camera for you ladies. And so basically, the whole idea today. Now I'm gonna be a little more, laid back, I guess, open dialogue about it. The whole idea about today that I had was quite literally kind of on a whim. I was like, what would be something really interesting that interests me that I feel like I could really have a conversation about? And one of the things that interests me, just not even fully from having conversations like with my wife, but like seeing her, and then I have a sister-in-law that low-key addicted to Animal Crossing, and something that I see about them, they love their cozy games, like Mermaid has come on and done that, and the experiences that we have, even in like a very walled garden type situation, for them are just so dramatically different from my own. Now that can be chalked up to a couple things, because they are super casual gamers. I don't do anything in my life casually, and so I'm like everywhere all the time, and I'm streaming and I'm talking, I'm online, I'm chronically online, I'm all the time doing stuff, and so then is that really what the difference is? But lucky for me, amongst a million other things, Loki and Pree are also online, and so that was honestly that laid the foundation for me thinking I want to find some people that are on the other side of this experiential plane, but are similar enough to me in what I do, to really shed some light for me on kind of what's going on the other side of the aisle. And I know, Topaz, you'd probably lean more into slightly above cash, like you're not streaming it, but you are pretty much at every like midnight launch of a game with me and all that cool stuff. So, and you're always here anyway. So I'm interested in anything that you think or have any questions that you have for our guest, anything like that. I think it's going to be a really cool opportunity for a dialogue. And then, ladies, my full intention is really to kind of just steer the boat a little bit to make sure that we stay within the banks, but to let you guys do everything else. No pressure, but how can I really speak on it other than asking questions or like comparing experiences? And so I don't know how we want to start in on that. I will say that today's topics could be a little less airy and fun than when we're playing games together, about who would win in a fight, Mario or Luigi, and things like that. But I think it's going to be
Luigi.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Luigi.
He's also my favorite.
That's horrible. We are horrible.
I mean, he's good, and Mario gets all the credit. But interestingly enough, like I do think this is going to be a really cool conversation. So, is there anything that either of you maybe had planned that you wanted to start with, and if not, that's totally fine. But anything that you guys had planned that you're like, I want to say this first before we really get
like
into
a
anything.
song or a prayer or a.
I didn't plan to. You want to switch the camera to me?
I will. Sorry, I right. Oh, sorry. I tried to build one that had both of you on at the same time, but you were only this big. And when I did it, and I was like, that doesn't do anyone any justice. I'll just get crazy with it. Thank you.
I didn't plan to say this, but I know just before we jumped in together, Loki and I were talking, and we had a little bit of this nervousness of, what if we say something that is offensive to men? Right? Because we're going to be talking about women's perspective, or like, what if we don't represent women well? So we have, that in the back of our minds that these are important things that we don't want to, we don't want to talk badly about men, and we don't want to represent women badly. But these opinions are our own and our own experience, and we're going to be authentic in that. But just know that like that's our heart position, and that's something that we want to stay away from doing. But we apologize in advance if that comes off like that at any point.
I am so glad that you said that, because like even with the best intentions in mind, there is kind of like that barrier. So I don't know how you're feeling in the room or anything, but even as I'm trying to like start this conversation a little bit with this, I'm thinking about how like, well, I mean, I care about both these people that are on the screen, and I certainly don't want to, especially out of a place of ignorance, say something that's just well intended but perhaps not well met. And so yeah, I don't know why that is, but I'm so glad that you started that up, because I think that is more of a barrier than we give it credit for, not in just this particular situation, but in any differences of opinions, whether it's we're on different sides of gender or whether we're on different sides of race or whatever the case is. There almost needs to be like a, hey, do I have your permission to say something stupid? And if it's stupid, then educate me on that. Because otherwise, like, how can this conversation, how can this do anything for us? It's all about learning. It's all about trying to meet someone on the other side. Not that we're enemies or anything like that, but meet someone on the other side and learn something and have a good conversation and gain some perspective that would, quite honestly, be entirely impossible without that assistance, without someone else. So thank you for saying that, Pre. Well, guys, I would love to know, before we get into like the nitty gritty stuff, I would love to know just kind of what got you started in gaming. Have you been gaming your whole life? Like, just whatever you want to share. So you both stream, you both play games, you both have your own direction of that content, but that's kind of like what we're looking at in the present right now. What got you here? Like, why? I guess in a way, why are you doing what you're doing now? And yeah, go.
Okay. I would say that I've been gaming my whole life. I would say that I haven't been openly gaming my whole life, which sounds really weird, but my father liked games, and he bought my sister a PlayStation, like the PlayStation 1, like the big darker gray box one that I still have. Yeah. And she never used it. She was 16 years older than me, and she had like 2 games. She had this lizard game called Gex, and she had Twisted Metal.
Oh my god!
And so I played a lot of Twisted Metal. That's probably why I like Fortnite now. But yeah, so I played a lot of like those 2 games, and my nan's house had a Nintendo 64, and I grew up in the summers living there with all of my cousins. I have lots of cousins. There's about 20 of us, and they're mostly boys, and we would all play Nintendo 64. And the kid across the street had a Nintendo 64, so I used to go hang out with him. And yeah, we play games. So yeah, that's how I started. And I feel like just as people enjoy a good book, I do like reading, but it's hard to get me to do it. Playing a game isn't hard for me. So just like people like reading a book and kind of, get escaping. And that way I found that escape in video games. And then also I have lots of friends who live around the world because of my my job doing summer camp. We bring in people from all over. And so staying in contact with them online gaming has been a good way to stay connected to them. So that's why I'm still doing it today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Topaz is over here like, yeah, I like every word you say.
It's so good to hear somebody say that it's a good escape, just like reading a book. Somebody loves to read a book. You got people that plays games and it calms them and all that stuff. You're escaping the real world or the reality of what's going on. And that's beautiful. I'm so glad you said that because that's how I feel. And it's so hard to try to explain that to somebody, why I play games.
Yeah. Especially like this isn't the point of the conversation, so we'll do a touch and go, but we're all like in that, except for Loki, you young thing, you. We're all we're all in that like closer to 30, like closer to 30 than not. And so now the conversation is like, why are you playing games? You got kids, you're so old, like why are you doing this? And I'm like, mind your business, David. Mm-hmm. But and it's great because we're also all 30, so you get that reference. It's so good. But I don't want to take away from your time either, Loki. So
you're good.
Tell us about you.
Yeah, so similarly to Pre, I started gaming when I was fairly young as well. So I did have the original PlayStation growing up, but primarily we played Xbox in my household. My dad was also like a big gamer, but my parents are very young, so he grew up with like the Nintendo 64 and stuff. So naturally, once the PlayStation and stuff came out, we had that, and my brother and I, with the original Xbox, they came with like these little discs, like arcade discs, and so we would play like the demos on those, and there was like a game called Munch and Abe, which I still play to this day. That was on that demo disc, and that kind of evolved my love into gaming. And I had like a Game Boy, and a DS and a Wii. Like I was really into Nintendo, and then kind of started really loving PlayStation and Sony products. And I was also very outcasted as a kid, and so I really turned to video games as, again, my escape. Similar to you guys, I really would turn to these things and kind of escape reality, and it was just my time to myself, or with my brother, who like is a big part of the reason that I still play video games and do what I have to do. And then Bree maybe not won't take credit for any of it, but she really pushed me into streaming. Like she really supported it, is more not push, but supported my streaming journey start, and kind of a big reason why I still do it.
Wow, that's really cool. Already, perhaps for no real reason at all, I'm dividing from the three of you actually, because I don't really play games as an escape, which is just something interesting. I don't want to make it about me, so I'm not going to talk much. But probably the reason that I play games as much as I do currently, I thank Fortnite for it, even though I don't even like that game as much anymore as I used to. I've played it for a long time now. Since Season 4, Chapter 1, I've been playing Fortnite a lot. But we moved here. We live around everyone here. And that meant that, like, mom and dad are home. My brother's back home. All the friends that I grew up with are back home. And just kind of almost kind of like by accident, I heard about Fortnite. And like my friend, like Mr. Whittier Jones, who's in the stream all the time, I've known Mr. Whittier since I was 9 years old, and so he's literally like the OG. And then his brothers and everything, they were playing, and they were like, "Try this out. You got an Xbox One now." And I was like, "All right, cool, I'll do it." And what made me start loving games, like mine is not an escape. My avenue into gaming is a connection. So it's almost exactly the opposite. That's what led me to streaming. My favorite thing about it, I don't just chill on the couch. I mean, I do sometimes, but like I don't just chill and just want to play. I want to be like, talk to me. Watch me play this game. Let's talk about it. Let's engage it. Let's get into a comm session. Like, let's do something. And that's what it's like. Man, I want to play games tonight. It's gaming with the boys. It's gaming with the fam. It's gaming with the community. It's just gaming. That's literally something we've been doing lately. We've been playing a lot of Sea of Thieves till the next morning. But that's not important. This isn't about me. And I don't know. I don't appreciate you bringing that up. But no. So that's really, it's interesting to me. That we're just different in that way. Mine's like I want to be around people more, and so I game with them. It's crazy.
Yeah,
that's really
that difference isn't a bad thing though. I like having somebody else's perspective on it, because I feel like a lot of people, they genuinely, they use it as their escape. So to hear it from a different perspective is actually really cool.
Yeah, well, and it's really neat to me because like for this exact same reason, I'm like, man, people like. Some people are seeing this as their solace, and for me, it's my stage. It's completely different things. It's totally crazy. So I'm be quiet, and we will keep on keeping on. That's really cool. So you guys covered your gaming and your kind of, especially Loki, like the streaming and what brought you there. Respectively for each of you, how long have you been in what I guess we could consider the public gaming sphere, whether streaming, or we'll spread that a little bit, online like gaming parties, whether that's, I think of Valorant because we literally just played Valorant. I'm playing Valorant now. I'm getting okay at keyboard and mouse. I'm still not very good.
He's pretty sick at it.
Very good kindness. You get to stay on the screen. But I'm trying, because this year I'm trying to get better. I'm trying keyboard and mouse, and those kind of like comm parties are very different from other online type things I do, but it's really common in like the Call of Duty world. You getting in on there, and if you die, your mic comes on, and like that kind of stuff. So I'm lumping those two things together, whether it's streaming or whether it's just playing online together. How long have you guys respectively been doing that?
I want to say online, probably, again, like when I got Xbox was like really the first online experience I had, but I feel like more so in my adulthood, probably when Fortnite really became like a bigger thing. So like I was in high school, I think, when Fortnite came out. So I played that. I know I sound very little and young, and I'm sorry about it.
No,
But,
you flaunt it and rock it. I'm over here like, in high school, I wasn't playing Fortnite in high school. That's okay though. I'm glad that we have a younger perspective.
Yeah, that's great. But no, I would play Fortnite, and I think that was the big one where I really started getting into playing, especially with like random people, and really kind of making friends that way. And then in terms of like Twitch, I've been doing that for about 2 years now.
Okay, so mine is a little bit less about. I'm not going to start with the gaming and the streaming because it doesn't really, I think, connect there.
Okay.
So when in 2009, I just graduated high school, I worked at the camp that I direct now. It was my first summer there as a counselor, and that's when I met my husband and other people who live from all around the world. And so I used to try to stay in contact with them, but I found it was really hard when there's so many of them. So I started a YouTube channel and I started vlogging. Back when it was so easy to vlog, I used to use my old white Mac notebook, and like I would walk around like my town holding my notebook, and that's how I got my footage.
Oh my
'cause that's
gosh,
what I
yes.
had. And I would edit that puppy up in iMovie and put that up there, and it was just a way for me to stay in contact with all my friends. But then other people started finding it, and I became a YouTube partner. And then when I got married, I actually stopped doing that because I had like no time anymore. And my husband, it was kind of weird because he doesn't want to be online like I do, so I couldn't like walk around with my Mac. So I stopped doing that, and I started gaming. So I'm a PlayStation, Nintendo girl growing up, and he was an Xbox guy, and we didn't compromise. We have all of it. So
Yeah.
so we started playing COD with our friends, Call of Duty with our friends who lived farther away, and so we would together all stay in contact, and that was really fun. And then I saw it just like on the Xbox homepage that people stream gaming. That's the first time I saw it. I was like, what are those people doing? And my husband's like, oh, they're like streaming them playing. And I was like, oh, that's kind of like what I used to do on YouTube. Like that sounds actually really fun. And so I thought about doing it, and I didn't. And then COVID came, and I'm a really big people person, and I love to connect with people. And that summer, we didn't even have our summer camp. Like, the world was shut down. I also had a baby, and I just really missed people. So for my birthday that year, my husband got me an Elgato, and I hooked that up to my new Mac. But yeah, I just streamed for my first year with my Mac and my Elgato with my Nintendo Switch, and used my regular TV monitor, and I had to set it up every single day before I used it and break it all the way down every single time. And I just loved it. And yeah, I guess that's how I started. So that's how I got into the streaming part. So yeah, games are my getaway, but streaming, content creating, like that's my wanting to connect with people, wanting to share life together.
That's really interesting. And so your experience, Topaz's, probably aligns as far as like where you are in your timeline of life. But I really connect with yours and Loki's in that when I really started getting into gaming was right around when Fortnite, like gaming online, it was right around when Fortnite was rising in prominence. And so despite, whether or not I was in high school as well, we actually got started kind of at the same time. So that's cool. That's really cool to me. And then with Pre, I definitely relate to like the early stream struggles and like the discovering it, because I was just playing online and I did the same thing. I didn't start with an Elgato, but I'm over here. I didn't vlog with my Mac, but I was a Mac guy. And I remember the first like stream that I'm going to have to share it at some point. Maybe that'll make a good like short or something like Webby from 4 years ago. Because the first stream that I was really proud of, I was playing Ratchet & Clank on my PS4, but I didn't have a capture card or any way to do it. And so what I did was I remote played it to my Mac. I screen captured basically window captured that footage, but I had to play the game through the Mac to do that. But I'm looking at the TV, and I was the same way. I'm tearing everything down after I'm done. I had a green screen with like a I guess it's kind of like a shower curtain rod that I'd put up behind me to block the entryway of the apartment that we were living in, and sometimes I'd like get done and I'd walk around and like Mermaid is asleep on the couch behind the green screen because she had like snuck in the door from work and everything. Then I had to take all that down, or I started getting real lazy with it, and she was real gracious. I got to the point where I could just like squish it all to the side like a big curtain, and then we could watch and have the living room, but there's this big hunk of green over in the side. And so yeah, no, and the moral of that story is that use what you can, like follow your dang dreams. Cool. Well, with your permission, guys, unless you'd have anything you'd like to add towards, or well, with your permission, I'm going to kind of direct us in a little bit more here. I did make a list on this iPad here, and I did share it with you guys, but it's really just like a road map of potential destinations. But just like any real road trip, you don't have to stop at every Buc-ee's. Like, you can do your thing. And so that's kind of how we're going to go along this. We shared a little bit about kind of what got us started, how we got on the internet. You both, I mean, even since the time that just Fortnite started, a lot of gaming hours, a lot of time has happened. And Pre, you've been like in the public sphere for even longer than that. And fearless, because you got to, one, be on the internet, but two, you got to deal with the people walking down the street like, what is she doing? Old computers were bigger than our laptops. What is she doing with that white thing? Anyway, so brave, I'm giving you the bravery points. That being the case, you've been around, you've been making content, you're doing things. What do you think is something that's maybe pretty unique, or just even noteworthy? It didn't have to be, it didn't have to even be unique to you if you don't feel like it is, but an experience that that you've had that you feel like relates to like your femininity or your womanhood, that is maybe unique in that realm, just from existing online, just from existing or playing games. You can take a second to look or to think about that if you want, or if you need it, that's totally fine. Just anything that you're like, wow, I wonder if this would have happened if it weren't for the fact that I am female, or, that's one line of thought there. Or maybe maybe it's a positive thing. Maybe it's like, this is a really cool thing that happened because I'm female. Whichever route or whatever you guys feel like sharing with, whatever is, in your comfort zone. I'm really interested in hearing about it.
I'm trying to think of a positive.
Okay.
I'm sure that there is. I think anybody. So, okay. A lot of people think that streaming, like a lot of things in life, is like an input system. So they think like, if I put 1 and I add 1, I'm going to get 2. Right. And so I think when people think of gender, they think of that same thing. Like, oh, if I was a girl, it would be easier because of this. Right.
Yeah.
Or, oh, if I was a guy, it would be easier because of this. But the thing is with content creating, and I think in any of the platforms, is it's not a 1 + 1 = 2. There's so many different combinations and so many different results of what comes out of that. So any positive experience I've had because of me being female is only when I feel like there's another girl, right? When I meet another female who feels seen when they see me, or they say like, at my summer camp, I talk openly about how I game. It's a big part of my life and how I stream. And they'll pull me aside after, and they'll say like, wow, that's really great that you game like I do too, and I didn't know other girls did, or adults did, or moms did, or whatever. So like that for me, that's the positive for me, but I guess there's an undertone of not positive in that, right? So I guess negative wise is I actually been pretty lucky. I haven't been felt super attacked because of being female. Back in the YouTube days of vlogging, in the early days, it was more like the Wild West, and people were a lot more openly vulgar, and there was also this right now I think we have a healthy system, and Twitch I feel like has really great moderation systems where like if someone's awful to you, you can just ban them. So there's always that threat there. But on YouTube, even though you could delete a comment, it was seen as negative to do that. So you were supposed to comment. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Webby. So back then you didn't delete a comment that was so wrong. You instead you had to reply back and try to showcase yourself in like a positive way. But as a female, I got some really nasty stuff because everybody's behind an anonymous handle, right? So that was my experience there. And with Twitch, it wasn't that bad, but I will say it was really hard to start, and I almost stopped. Before starting my first stream, there was this nervousness of like, what if? What if a guy comes in and says these things, right?
Yeah.
Or what if somebody comes in and hits on me? And the thing about when you're just starting is you don't have any friends yet in your chat. And I didn't share to anybody, any of my real life people at this point. Loki's a real life friend, but I hadn't told her that I was streaming. I didn't tell anyone. So I was just sitting there with nobody until somebody would come in. And when people did say things that were mean or inappropriate, about me and me being female or hitting on me. It's mostly hitting on. It's not usually like super vulgar. It's just like, hey baby kind of stuff. I felt really uncomfortable and I didn't know how to handle it, and I just felt really alone. So there was a lot of times that I almost stopped, but I didn't. And over time, I, made friends, and then I made strong enough friends where a lot of people would be there full stream. And I find when you find a group of people, and somebody comes in, they're less likely to say something because you've got a group there. But it still, happens occasionally. But we have this great, healthy experience, I think, now where it's okay to block somebody or to delete their message. And so that was my experience.
It's really interesting because, like, as someone who has a background for a couple of years working in like the commercial, like professional realm of like social media and like PR and marketing, you hit the nail on the head with you don't delete a comment. At very best, like just in general, it's in poor taste, and it's even still considered that a little bit, especially if you're like, which we are in the the way that we are presenting ourselves. We are a business. Like I am me, but Webby Pumpkin, who is also me, is the brand, and so like it kind of takes on some of those characteristics or those attributes of you don't delete this. I mean, imagine if you were like, we'll use everywhere corporate, like McDonald's. I had a really terrible experience at this store and the burger was cold, and they just deleted it. Outrage. Like, no, you don't. And that's a really mild thing there. So she hit the nail on the head. Now, one thing I really, really like is that I want to give credit where credit is due. You're right. You can definitely, do things to ban or to time out or give warnings on Twitch. And the auto moderation has gotten really good, where like if there's some kind of vulgarity, because this does happen, you guys just in the out there world don't see it. I'm confident it happens in y'all streams, where I get vulgar messages in my chat all the time that the viewers never see because everything's held for review. And it, like me and my mods, that's all that sees it. And I have that same moderation. I don't know if it was like this when you started on YouTube, Bree, but I've got that same moderation on YouTube now. Any potentially like sensitive comments are held for review. So if I do need to delete something, no one's ever any the wiser. And it's even cooler because this is just really pro tips for anyone who's wanting to get started, especially male or female. If you want to get started, I felt really dirty about this, but you can blacklist words too. The only thing I don't like about it is you gotta write them, and I was like, this feels wrong, but I did it because I was like, I don't want this popping up. And pro tip that I learned, this is not what it's necessarily about, but you've got to blacklist misspellings of words. If like you don't want people saying words that they shouldn't say that have 2 G's in them, you got to spell it with 1 G also, so that doesn't pop through. And the plethora of other things and stuff you just don't think about. So take that nugget if you guys are out there thinking about getting started, like, but also take it as an encouragement. Like those tools are there. And then I want to comment a little bit on that experience. Then I want to give Loki a chance to share hers. Because like the hitting on and the things like that, even not like overtly vulgar in nature, is something that I, with the exception of one person I can think of, have never experienced. Whether that's a male thing or not, I tend to think that it probably is. That's something I have never experienced. And the one time that I have experienced it, it's a guy that I really, really like. I've never met him IRL. His name's Slick, and he is a 100% joking, and it comes across as joking, whereas that probably is not the experience that you would feel if Slick came in and was like, "You looking good today." That's something he would say to me. He'd be like, or now he's at a point where we've known each other for a couple years. He started when I was on Mixer, and the first thing he'll say is he'll drop like a heart or something and be like, "Love you," and then he'll lurk. And if you don't know him, it's like, what is happening right now? That would be probably a super different experience if I felt harassed or hassled or anything like that. And I think the whole reason I'm telling that story is I think a lot of the reason that I didn't even initially feel harassed is because that just typically doesn't happen to me, if that makes sense. When something happens like that, it's so out of the norm. It's not even out of the norm in the way that it's like, that's weird, I feel uncomfortable. It's more like out of the norm in a way that's like, what you talking about, Willis? Like that type of thing. So just really different experience. And I feel like Loki's going to echo a little bit. So Loki, if you're ready, I'd love to hear about your experience.
Yeah, I am ready. So, just to touch base a little bit, I love when Slick does that. I think that's so funny.
I'm so glad you
'cause,
know
yeah,
what I'm talking
definitely,
about.
yeah. So definitely, like one of the first times in your chat, I definitely saw that. And I was like, hold on a second, that's like very interesting. But no,
He thinks he's slick.
very, yeah, he thinks he's slick.
That's right.
No, very, very similar to Pri, and I feel like I'm going to say this a lot because us both being like women, I feel like we both have a very similar like feeling and understanding on the platform. But I never really experienced the YouTube side of things, but kind of on the Twitch side of things, I guess I'm going to start with my negative first because I'm a pessimist. I no, I'm just kidding. I am definitely a glass half full type of person, but in all seriousness, I do find that being on the platform and playing kind of like online games that I do have my Twitch handle associated with the games, and I do have like TTV and a lot of my like usernames on like online games, and I do that not really for like recognition solely, but like community, like we touched base on a little bit earlier. Like I want those people to feel like they can find my platform and find a community that they want to be a part of. But with that, people like on these online games, they see TTV and they automatically think like I'm gonna go over to that person's channel and say some outlandish thing, or they're gonna find a community that they really want to be a part of. But the one example that I'm thinking of here is I was playing an online game and they saw my TTV handle and they came in like and wrote very vulgar things in my chat. And I wish I could say that that's the first and only time that that's happened or is going to happen, but it's probably not. And I don't think that's. I know we're solely talking about women, but I don't think it's solely about being a woman that does that. But I think that makes it a little bit more rough, if that makes sense. I feel like not only do they see that I'm a TTV person, but they see that I'm a woman on top of that, and they kind of build on top of that, which makes it very difficult. But I at one point, which kind of gave like why I took my break a couple months ago, was it kind of was just like everything building up, and it feels very overwhelming. Like I'm not the type of person that like really holds grudges or like really takes things to heart, but when it all builds up, it builds up, right? Like, and it just, you kind of don't know how to deal with it. So I kind of took a step back to kind of reconvene and reevaluate like what I really wanted to do going forward. And I feel like that was really refreshing because not being online and experiencing that, like it really, when you come back, really makes you see how things are, but how you can take the reins and deal with it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Oh, it does. And it's hard. Like the first time that happens, cause like, I don't know if this is like just permissible, like I'm just allowing things for this to happen, or if I'm just being a realist in this. But if you guys are thinking about starting streaming, or anybody that's like doing this wants to make content, if you've never done it before, I can almost guarantee you something may not be, a sexist comment or a vulgar comment or something like that, but something is going to happen. I wish that it wasn't the case, but it's best to prepare anyway. And in those moments where something happens, I remember the first time something like that happened for me, I was flabbergasted. I had no idea what to do. Like, you just are stuck there. But it is really empowering to remember the fact that it is your stream and you are completely in the place of authority. And of course, it helps to have moderators, people that you genuinely trust. I started with people that I knew for real, like IRL, and then I moved on to I learned a little something. I moved on to people that were just there a lot, and now I have a application where I can vet a little bit, and it's a pretty simple application, but where I can vet a little bit, because that doesn't always work too well, because then you get like more mods than you have people that are regularly there. And I'm at a weird spot now where I have like 8 mods, so that you don't have to always be there, and I pretty much always see one green name every time. But you shouldn't have to depend on them with auto modding and things like that. Hopefully those things catch stuff like that. But even still, so to address something else that you said, I just wanted to like comment, I guess, a little bit on the fact that I love that you come around to the point that like, hey, you in control. Like, this is your stream. This is your content. You've got this. But when it comes to like things that have like crazily happened, I still do think there is something potentially gender related there, because I'm thinking back to the worst isolated event that ever happened in the history of my streams ever. And for me, it has never been like sexually explicit type things or vulgarity of that nature. It's never been hitting on me. It's never been gender oriented. But I have had people come in and be like incredibly demeaning, and even like it feels like almost past the point of like racist. It's not even like we're going to say some uncanny, ungood things. It's like despicably disgusting. And in that exam, I'm not going to go into the, the nitty gritty of exactly what happened, but what added on top of it is it felt like something that I couldn't correct, because it wasn't like the things that they were saying, while they were bad. Yes, the things that they were actually typing were awful. Their usernames they were sneaky and clever, because obviously you can't just have like these crazy explicit usernames like Twitch or whatever catches it. I think this was actually on Mixer when this happened to me. But they were incredibly poorly read, explicit usernames. So I didn't know what to do with that, but also like, I couldn't allow the username to pop up in my chat. And what ended up happening within too long of a period is I did ban them. And that's how this landed. But I felt, for whatever dumb reason, I felt kind of guilty about it after the end of stream. I was like, what just happened? Could I have handled that better? And I felt like I'd done all the wrong things. And so I think that I've come around to a place now of thinking that I didn't. I did the best that I could with that poor bit of experience that I'd had, but now I have more and I can build on it and hopefully share that. And I tell that story, one, because we're all figuring this out as we go. Nobody really is taking a course in how to make content online, probably. But also, in all my time streaming, there's been a couple events. That's the worst one. And still never has it had anything to do with my gender or anything of the like. Whereas you guys might be able to tell stories about like racist things or other things that have happened in your chat too. And I may be reaching here. I want you to correct me, but it feels like, or what I'm assuming, I have a hypothesis that the questionable things that have happened in your streams have been mostly, if not exclusively, sexually explicit or in relation to like your gender or hitting. And if I'm wrong, correct me on that, or give me like a percentage of how like, well, yeah, you're wrong, but you're like 80% right. Give me an idea, because that leads me to think that it probably does have something to do with our genders a little bit.
I think I would definitely mostly agree with that. And it feels weird, being on that end of it, because like I could say that it feels weird and that you're mostly right, but I could be saying that, in people's perspective, it's because I'm a woman and that's how how I feel about it. But it's even more validating when like there's like a man saying like that they also notice that, if that makes, sense about that.
Yeah, I think it does.
Mm-hmm.
Pre, you want to add anything in with that?
Sure.
Sweet.
I would say probably, and I'm family friendly, so I have a lot of rules.
That's good.
I just have like a lot of off limit, topics or words even. And even with that, majority of bad stuff that goes down has to do with me being female. and it's not always, super bad, but it's enough where it makes me uncomfortable. um People, I don't know, just I wish people would take me being female, I know that I'm a girl.
Yeah.
You don't have to constantly remind me that I'm female. And because you're, a guy doesn't mean that, who likes girls, doesn't mean that you have the right to like let me know that you're interested in me or something like
Mm,
that. I just feel like it's irrelevant to, the vibe that we're creating.
yeah. That makes plenty of sense. I love the way that you put that with the, just because you're a guy and you like girls and you may like what you see in here. Um, Hold up there, like back that off.
Yeah.
And what I thought of is because I see you talk, and I do this too. I'm not picking, but you talk with your hands a lot, and you flashing it, girl. Like it's not like you're secreting yourself
Yeah.
here. Like you sent a profile or a picture
But
earlier to using the thumbnail, and that ring is like showing in it. She's like,
oh yeah.
I am proud.
And but even without being married or even without dating,
Hmm.
you can be single and not be looking or not be interested
Yeah.
or not want that. And I think if you genuinely wanted to, you know pursue somebody in their Twitch chat, um that's not the time.
Yeah.
That's not the way.
It's pretty off at best. It's really off-putting. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So you guys, your online experiences and when you really started getting into online gaming, kind of mirror. You either were already online, like in Pre's case, or you were really getting online at similar times. Like from what I understand with Loki, like you started really playing, and then it was shortly after that you were like, I'm gonna stream this too, thanks to Pre's encouragement. And so a question I had was, do you feel like things changed when you began streaming, and they may be too close together? You guys are more than welcome to lean into that if not, but it might be too close together. To really say for sure. So ponder that while we move on to the next one as well. And if you do have something to add, please start with that or add whatever you want. But in that same sphere, we've talked about the dating, or the wanting to date, or the hitting on the pickup lines and everything. And probably most of them aren't even really good lines. That is really lucky. I don't know if you have been as lucky, Loki, but I had a question here about just any forms of harassment in the gaming sphere or the streaming sphere or anything that you felt like you've experienced just from being a woman. And really what I'm wanting to lean into here that I'm curious about, because you've both shared experiences that have happened while you're online, but and to only share what you're comfortable with. But has anything bled over the lines? Do you feel like you're getting people are sliding into your DMs or things are happening when you're not, when you haven't pressed live, like when you're not on air? I'm really interested because that's where yes, it can be harassment when you're on the stream, but there's almost an element of like we're putting ourselves out there, and it's just what we have to do. One of the things we have to manage. But when you end that live stream, now we're in a different sphere. Now it feels like a different level of what could be harassment or even just poor taste or whatever you want to call it, depending on the situation. Has that been something that you feel like has been a part of your experience? Answer either of those or neither, whatever you feel most comfortable with.
I find that I've been fortunate enough to not have experienced that offline.
Good deal.
I'm definitely like on the smaller side of like content creators, and I'm in a very comfortable spot to where things haven't changed so drastically to where like kind of like you touched base on earlier. I know it's like there's like some points where it's inevitable. I feel like in a
Yeah.
case, and I feel like maybe in the future, I don't hope this for myself, but I feel like I almost prepare myself in a sense for that to happen as my community and my content creation grows. But that's not something that I hope for, and I don't hope that for anybody. However, I feel like a lot of that I do get, that I have experienced, has solely been online. Whether I guess whether I'm streaming or not is the case, but it's more so like online, like those online games that I play, and where I do like my voice like chat, like
Yep.
if I do like a fill game or something like that, on like those shooter games that I play, like I'll get like for like the one that I get is like shut up, you're a woman. Like that's the
Oh,
biggest
my
one I
God.
get, or like go to the kitchen, like those things.
Mm.
And that's like those are the biggest ones that I really get. And it's very old. It's so used. It's unoriginal, and I don't even respond to it because those they're not creative enough to come up with a response. And I feel like it's a lot of it is for those kids that are online with their friends and they want to seem cool, but
Mhm.
it's just not, it's not cool, it's not fun. And even if I don't take it to heart, it just sometimes it just feels like crap.
Yeah.
Um, it's like some embarrassing stories of mistakes I've made as actually, I made mistakes that opened me up for this as a female, but I also was like the victim in them. So
Okay.
when I was doing YouTube, I I didn't know like feet stuff was a thing.
Okay.
Like foot fetish stuff.
Honestly, you're laughing and it is funny, but like there's probably someone else like you that doesn't know either. So this could be
This
good.
is real bad. This is real bad.
Okay, yay.
So, well, you can find my feet on some website that you can pay for a subscription to, because somebody said that they were making like, I don't remember if it was like a charity or something, and they were getting all these content creators to take pictures with this sign. I don't remember what it said, and then a picture of your feet.
Wow.
The background, and then someone told me that it was like out there. So yeah, it's like out there. See Loki's
Wow.
face, and she's like
Wait, hold
afraid
No,
for me.
I'm just
So
like
that's a thing. And
Is that, like,
Loki can
recent?
attest, because she knows me in real life, that I hate feet. I do not ever like show my feet, even like with my friends around. And
Yeah.
I think that's like a defense mechanism even to this day, of like, don't show your feet. Don't show your feet. Like, feet are weird. Put them away.
Wow.
So that's one thing. Another thing is that I had somebody who was active in my comments back then, and their name was I won't say their name.
Okay.
And but anyways, they were active in my comments, and I didn't, it made me uncomfortable, but I didn't know what to say at the time. I was like early 20s probably, and they did things like called me beautiful, things like that, that now is not something that I would nicely just say like, hey, you don't need to comment on my appearance, good or bad, right? So I can say that kind of thing now, but back then I would just be like, oh, thanks, I didn't really know what to say.
Yeah.
And it kind of grew, and then they saw my address on one of my blogs somewhere. They must have like zoomed in and like found it, and they sent me a card that it said I was unbearable and had all these hearts, and like said some other things. It wasn't like really grotesque, but it was like uncomfortable. This person out there who obviously like feels a certain way knows my address, and they sent me a bear costume. They're from Canada and I'm from America. So those are like things that have happened, and I think they've only happened because I was a female.
Wow. No, I mean, I'm going to be honest, Bree. I wanted all the honesty, and I'm so glad that you gave it. I was not expecting the stories that you gave.
Yeah, me either.
First told here.
Whoa! And there you have it.
Wow.
The web show exclusive.
Yeah, I didn't even know any of that. Like, in me, kind of side tangent, me knowing Pre, like the whole feet thing, like that. She's such a super private person.
Yeah.
To where like that's very, despite like being a woman online. I don't know.
I'm
crazy.
very private, and it's very like preventative care, I feel like.
Yeah.
I think anybody, and this is no shame towards girls who use their femininity in a way that brings in that type of audience, for whatever reason, whether that's how they're comfortable or that's how they want to grow, or like whatever it is, that's not me shaming. That's just like not how I'm comfortable, and I don't want that kind of attention. So I'm constantly doing things like, is the collar high enough on my shirt? Like, I do all of these preventative care things, and it's not even necessarily things that are actively happening, but it's like the fear of them happening.
Yeah.
Like I've never been assaulted walking down an alley or walking to my car from somewhere when I'm alone, but I always, every time I'm alone and I walk to my vehicle, I think about it. Even from my house, I live rurally. Even from my house, I wonder about some of my neighbors. And are they going to see that I come out? And they're going to know that my husband's away? Like, what's going to happen?
Wow.
And it's just always there. So even going live, and I think that's why I said when I started streaming, it was really hard and I almost stopped, because you have this fear. And then even if somebody comes in and it's the smallest comment that seems inappropriate, it's a big deal for you because you were so afraid of this moment and now it's happening.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, I'm sure that does like just expedite everything. Like in what could have been a 3 is now an 8 level of like, because oh my gosh, it's happening. What do I do now? And is my next, like, is the thing that I feared was going to happen next going to be what's going to happen next? And that's really something that like I don't experience as someone who's online a lot. That's crazy. And my wife and I talk about the conversations about just the differences of walking, you know, whether it be from Walmart to our car, like in the parking lot, and it's middle of daylight and whatnot. Like she'll be like, I don't park next to vans. I don't park whether I'm not next to like something and everything, like just stuff. Then I'm like, sometimes I forget to lock my truck, like that type of thing. We're just very different. A 2-part thing here. Yes, I was about to say that has to do with femininity. It has to be the womanhood, but I think actually, you know, not to treat the symptom and not the problem. It's honestly probably a lot more to do with the fact that unfortunately that is unsafe, or things that can happen, and they shouldn't. And it's not like your preponderance, or those are bad events. I guess those bad events are not happening because women exist. And that's not even saying like that all men are perpetrators. It's just that these awful things aren't happening because women exist. It just happens that those evil things do exist because evil exists or bad exists, and women are the most likely to be affected, the greater pool of victims. Not trying to discredit anyone who's gone through anything like that. It's just that's what it seems like the numbers suggest as well, is that you are at a greater likelihood to experience something like that, or to experience some form of assault or harm, even if you are just walking out of your rural home, just by the fact that you are a woman. And I don't have a fix for that other than just let's talk about it. Like, knowledge is power. Like that's the point of these kind of conversations, because I don't know or have the ability to be like, and now it's fixed. That'd be lovely. I'd love to do that. And I don't know. I'm not smart enough. But you know, ants are only as effective in nature, or as powerful of a force at destroying my yard, because there's 2 billion of them. And so the more of us that know, the more of us that can watch out for each other, they can take care of each other, or recognize when these types of things happen, the more effective that will all be. That's the only retaliation I know that would be effective.
I think conversations like this are really important,
Mm-hmm.
and role modeling, like modeling conversations like this.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like having the tools to, like, as a female, when somebody comes in and says something, if it does make you feel uncomfortable, being able to say that, I think that's really helpful. I do think I think actually most of the comments that have to do with that are coming to me only because I am female, that I don't like, I don't feel like those are, the intent is to harm. I think
Right.
actually it's to compliment, or to encourage, or make me feel good about myself, or whatever. So I think, being able to extend that grace and having that position of your heart being like, everybody who comes in isn't trying to attack me.
Right.
So, if somebody comes in and makes me feel uncomfortable, just saying, hey, like, we're not going to comment on that, okay? Like, let's keep it about the game and about, what's going on.
I think we got the technical issues figured out, and we definitely wanted to give Pre an opportunity to say everything that she wanted to say and be heard. So please continue.
Yeah, so I think conversations like this are really helpful. This summer at my camp, I had to talk to our middle school group, and I don't think that their intent was to, like, wake up and mess up girls' lives. I do think some of them started having feelings for people for the first time, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they were doing things like touching girls' hair without, asking permission, or touching their lower back, making sexual noises as jokes, and they were doing that a lot in their cabins. And so I had to sit them down and I had to have a serious conversation with them and telling them how, inappropriate it was. And but also telling them that, there might be someone in your cabin who legitimately agrees with these jokes that you're making. Like legitimately thinks it's okay to do these things to women. And when you joke about that stuff, when you laugh at their jokes, you are making them think, oh, we're all like this. Like this is okay. And it just enables, this happening, and just reminding them that, like, you're not women, but women. You all have women who are important to you in your life. Some of you have mothers or sisters. One day you might have a wife, and you would not want to hear that, people were talking about them in this way or touching them in this way. And they all received that. So I think if we can have conversations like that, and if women can also have the perspective too of, like, not all men are awful, and some, and they're willing to have these conversations too, and, like, give a little grace. I think that's how things get better. But I think the real answer too is, like, nothing ever is fully going to be amazing in this world. I'm a Christian, so I believe that, like, there's bad stuff in the world, and that's what we're told it'll be like until the end. So we can just do our best and uplift each other, and
I think you hit the nail on the head with just the power of, like, validation or validity. And you can validate, like, in a positive manner, like, hey, these feelings that you're having or this, like, concern that you have is real. Like, you're not crazy for this. Or, that if there's power there to validate that and to create stability, there's also power to validate, oh yeah, you think like that? That's how everything is. Like, you're not wrong. Keep on keeping on. And so I'm really glad to hear that was received well there. And I completely agree with you. That's the purpose, as we shared at the beginning, that's the purpose of this conversation. And I think you hit the nail on the head again with the way that it's presented, the disposition that you have when you engage in conversations like this, is that there's got to be a little bit of grace, a little bit of freedom for people to say things that are unadvised or ignorant, and that they're just that. They're not hateful. They're not mean. At the very worst, they are not even aggressive, just said without caring about how someone feels. But in my experience, the majority of the time, it seems that people say something that they thought was okay to say, and they're finding out now for the first time is not okay to say. That's not always the case, but in my experience, that's been the case the most often. And the most productive conversations are like, hey, like, that wasn't that cool. Like, I didn't like the way that felt when you said that to me, or, how would you feel if you were in this situation? And maybe that's not always received the first time, but without those types of interactions, I don't see how any of us can grow. And it's absurd and statistically impossible for every man to be bad and every woman to be whatever. And if that were true, what a hopeless world that we live in, because we still have to live here together. And so if we can't find people that we agree with on every part of the spectrum here, then our only hope of any form of joy, which I don't think would be joy in this world, would be to be alone, because we're all here anyway. So we got to find ways to make something work. So
I think you're right too, Webby, where you said earlier that you were saying that bad things, don't happen to people just because they're women. That's not exactly what you said, word for word. And I think that is true. Like, if somebody comes into a chat or into your life with the intent to say something mean, they're going to say it whether you're a woman or not. I think it's just when you are a woman, that's an easy thing to attack right away. Yep. It doesn't have to be about the game. It doesn't have to be about, the words that we choose or whatever, or speech impediment. It can just be about you being a girl. Yeah. So I think that's important to know. And I think that is true that, people are mean to boys too. Yep. They're just not mean to them about them being a boy.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. And I don't think you'll take this in poor taste, especially by the time that I finish it. But I think that it's talked a lot about how people who will do things like that are cowardice, or are looking for easy prey in a sense, and I'm not by any means implying that women are easy prey or not or incapable. But what I am getting at is that everybody's courageous behind a keyboard because there's very little accountability typically involved with it, and so what makes anyone, whether you're a male streamer, a female streamer, whatever, what makes them easy prey and why people have the opportunity or feel like they have the validity or the authority, if they will, to even come in and say these types of things. It's not because that person that's streaming is less than or incapable or less than, or anything that makes them easy prey. I keep using that again. What it is that we have to, as a community of content creators, as a community of streamers and gamers, but on the greater whole, as a community of just people together, we have to, in a productive way, hold each other accountable. And so that's what makes, if somebody wants to come in and pick on you, Topaz, in a stream and whatnot, that's what makes you not easy prey, is that people are like, hey, that's not cool, timed out, ban. We're not going to tolerate hatefulness or vulgarity or whatever the case may be. We're not going to tolerate that here. This isn't the place for that. There is no place for that. And there's a layer of being held accountable for it, is as best as you can online. And so that's what I mean when I say easy prey. So if you guys, that are listening, or anyone here that's hanging out with us, take anything from this. Like, it doesn't, if you've got a keyboard and a mouse as well, if you've got a phone and you're watching, you also have that same ability to be courageous behind that keyboard. You have the ability. I'm not the only one in my stream that has a report button. You have the ability to hold these people accountable, especially if something, because can't tell you how many times during like a community night when there's a lot going on, because thank your streamers that you enjoy, because guys, what you don't realize is that like with our streams and everything, I'm the sound technician and I'm the production manager and I'm front of house. I'm also the entertainment, and when something goes awry, I'm IT. And so all that's happening at one time. I'm also communication and public relations, and that's happening all within one moment, within one person all the time. And it makes sense that things fall through the cracks. So there's been plenty of times during a community night or something where I'm getting people into a lobby in Fortnite and we're playing, and I'm looking over here at the gaming screen and everything, that I missed something, whether good or bad, usually good though, that I missed that scrolled by on my chat. And so, but if you saw something there that you're like, that's pretty off kilter, at very least, you could be like, whisper Webby, hey, did you see this? What you think about this, or anything like that, or a mod, like, mods, did you see this? And so, insert whatever you feel like would be the best avenue of reaction there. But guys, like, you're not powerless to take care of people, especially if you care about your streamer, if you care about this content creator or this gamer or this person here. Like, if you are the party leader, if I'm the party leader and Pre and Loki are in my chat and we're playing Valorant, and someone comes in and they're like, what up? Or we're playing Fortnite and someone comes in and they're like, hey, how you doing? And that is like as chill as I'm gonna keep it. Then the person in the place of authority there as the party leader is me, and I got the kick button. I've got the ban. Well, it's not really a ban button, but like, just stick up for the people you're playing with. Stick up for the people that are trying to enjoy this same thing. One of the things that I talk a lot about in my stream, that's a piece of what I call pumpkin positivity, is this idea that like we're here engaging in something, no matter what your background is. If you're here watching this stream, you're either here because you enjoy talking to me, or on the off chance you like this game that I'm playing. And on either of those instances, we're here collectively just trying to enjoy something that we all enjoy. And it doesn't matter like what color your skin is, or what your gender is, or if you grew up where it's cold or where it's hot, or whatever's happening, there's some semblance of common ground by way of just being there. And so I think we should look for some camaraderie there. And I'm going to get off my soapbox now and and lean in, because I want Pre and Loki, add anything to that if you want to.
So I feel like in terms of like how I guess protect myself, I can't remember what word to use, but for what I get in the chat, my advice would be to the people who are just starting out, or if I could have given myself any advice, is like really just be, I guess, strong, because I feel like a lot of that stuff can knock your confidence down. I know Pri had mentioned like there were times where she really wanted to like quit, and we talked about like this is your space and you can do what you want with it, but it really does boil down to like you're doing this for yourself, but you're also doing it for the people that are watching in a sense. And I feel like if you're letting these people who have negative things to say and are hiding behind that keyboard and that mouse and things of that sort, really let you get down, it's taking from those people in your community who actually are uplifting you and really wanting to support you. And I feel like that's so easy, and that's something that we can so easily steer away from and look at that negative side of things opposed to the positive side of things, like we talked about, like the glass half full, glass half empty. And I had jokingly said that I'm a pessimist, but yeah, no, I think that's a really good piece of advice that I wish somebody like would have given me, because it is so easy to be negative opposed to positive. And that's just something I even deal with in like daily, like my everyday job. I do that. It's so easy to look at like that negative side of like focusing on what people aren't doing opposed to focusing on what I'm supposed to be doing, or vice versa. So that would be probably.
I completely agree with you. I want Pri to have a chance as well. Talk to us.
Hello.
Yeah, so you were saying strategies to kind of protect your stream, right?
Yeah, your stream or yourself, and that could be, that could be for your stream, but that could just be in your gaming practices or online activity, like whatever it is.
Yeah. So my number one thing for my stream is I have good mods and we have good communication. So on our Discord, we have a multiple different private channels. And there's one specifically for like important notes about the stream. So I have like a section that says about like, the expectations of chatters and like when to do what kind of thing, or where they can ask me like, hey, this happened, should I have done that kind of thing.
That's cool.
But I don't think there's anything that you can actually do to stop people from being people or for being mean or whatever. So I think the best defense mechanism that you can do is like work on yourself. Go if you're going to do content creation, if you're going to be out in the public, even just walking down the street, it's helpful just to know who you are and not let other people define you by things that they point out about you, right? So me being a mom, that isn't my whole identity. Me being a female, that isn't my whole identity. And I know some people will look at me and the first thing that you see is that I'm a female. So that's going to be an easy thing to point out. So I think just being aware that people are out there and hurt people is a big thing that I tell youth when they're having a hard time with people who are mean to them, is that, people aren't born into the world being like, yeah, I'm going to mess stuff up. I'm going to break people's hearts. Like, yeah. I think bad things happen to everybody. And then people overflow from their heart, those bad things onto other people. So I think when you have that perspective, it's helpful, right? Because then you don't get all worked up and hate that person in the chat or wherever. You're just like, oh, if you kind of feel bad for that person instead. But yeah, I also think just like really knowing who you are so that you don't find your identity in what you're producing, because also people see my stream, but that's not all of me either.
Yeah. People
see my persona online, which is authentic, but you can't know all of me because you don't see me every day. Yeah. So, Pri is not fake. Pri is completely Kate is my real name. So Pri is completely Kate.
I feel like we got another exclusive right there.
Everyone already knows that. It's not super secret. Everyone already knows that. So Pri is fully Kate, but Kate is not fully Pri. And so I think you have to know that as a content creator or someone who's pursuing that like what people point out about who you are online, that also doesn't, identify all of you. So I guess you got to have thick skin. And for someone like me who is super sensitive and empathetic and people pleasing, that can be really hard. So I think you want to make sure you have the tools in your toolkit for when moments pop up that you can whip those out and, keep on keeping on.
Yeah, I love that. I want I keep adding to you guys. I feel like I'm gonna be like really motivational today on the coattails of Pre and Loki. So
I love this. This is great.
thank you.
I love listening to Pre talk too. Like I've witnessed her firsthand. Like do it. Like she talked about camp and like having to talk for like hours at a time and like in the morning and like still to this day, despite not working with her, like she just continues to inspire me in the way she talks. And I hope that she can still do that like with everyone watching and listening because she really just is great.
Oh, I
I just
love
want to
that.
throw that out there because I love her.
So sweet.
I love what you guys have said there, and I'm so glad that you guys came on and had this conversation with us, and just kind of had an opportunity and like a dialogue and an open table discussion here, because genuinely don't have the perspective that you guys have. Couldn't have done this, couldn't have brought this much information without both of you. And so, guys, if you also enjoy listening to Pre-Talk, or if you want to connect more with Loki, I don't know if Loki was going to do this in the last little spiel.
I wasn't. I know where you're going.
Well, her address is. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
Yeah. Talk about doxing.
What? No.
That's
So
crazy.
she also. This is where I'm going. This is probably where she thinks I am. She's told us about a lot of places that we can find her. But she also has a podcast that's just now getting started, and I'm going to take on my pre-poniness and be like, nudge and tell people about it. So I definitely want you to do that. But I guess you're already on the screen. Loki, where can anyone in the pumpkin patch that has just been like, whoa, Loki's so cool, I want to go hang out with Loki, where can they find you and connect with you through your streams, through social, wherever you want them? How can people connect with you?
Yeah, well, if there's anybody who feels so inclined, like I said, I'm on Twitch. I do have a Instagram solely for my Twitch account, like my gaming. And as far as my podcast goes, it's called It's Getting Real. Currently, it's only available on Spotify. I'm hoping to expand that a little bit further in the future. But if you really want to connect with me, my DMs are always open on Instagram, and primarily on the live chat on Twitch is really where you'll find where I can connect with you better.
Awesome. Do you have a schedule right now for Twitch, or are you kind of in and out?
Not
That's fine.
currently. I'm aiming for hopefully Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Sundays is where I'm aiming. But I kind of intermittently do it, so that's where it's important to keep up to date on my socials because I post when I'm going live. So
Yeah, but there's a good chance that if she's aiming for those days, they're going to happen. I've seen her play Valorant. Her aim's good, so she's probably going to hit the mark, and so that's going to be good.
it's not as good as Webby's, but
Thank you. She's a little bit of a liar. No, Pre, where can people connect with you if they feel so inclined to do so? Because I think most people are going to agree with Loki. They're like, man, I just love listening to her talk. Like, that's going to be the new compliment in your. I want everyone that is under the sound of my voice right now, when you go and you hang out and Pre-stream when she gets started back, you're not going to talk about her looks or any of these things that we were like, hey, don't do that. The first thing you're going to say,
right.
the very first thing is, I love listening to you talk. That's the first thing. The second thing is, Webby Pumpkin sent me. That's your rules. That's your homework. Write it down. Pre, where can they find you?
On Twitch, PreePonee. But I also have Instagram and what is it, X now? Is it still called Twitter? I don't know. I've been away all summer and I came back and I noticed my app says X now. Yeah, I'm in all those spaces on YouTube as well, but I'm mostly on Twitch. But I'm actually not back yet, so I don't have a schedule yet. This being here with Webby Pumpkin is my first time back on the internet since June. So, but I'm pretty consistent when I do get back into it.
I feel like we've had all the pony exclusives tonight on the web show. I feel overwhelmed with that. Guys, if you guys want to connect, Pre is awesome. Loki is awesome. And if you guys don't have any pen or paper or anything to write that down, also, you'll be able to find links to everything that they just told you, everywhere that you could find them in the description below on the YouTube video, as well as in the information on the audio forms if you're listening as an audio listener on the way back. And for you Spotify listeners, you'll also see a link directly to It's Getting Real. So definitely go check out there. Go ahead and leave all the comments in those. If you can't think of any comments, anything crazy to say, I want you to comment an emoji, a specific emoji, a pumpkin. It needs to be a pumpkin, but comment an emoji because that helps with engagement. That helps with their placement on all those respective platforms. On Spotify and anywhere that you find them, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and rate the podcast 5 stars because that helps with placement, and we want people to hear this conversation and see this conversation, but like their stuff too. It's probably better than what I'm doing, honestly. Thank you guys again from the bottom of the pumpkin patch. This has been a gourd conversation. I'm so glad that you both were here. We like puns. Topaz, I haven't let you speak too much. My apologies.
Dude, this was not about me, and I've been enjoying the conversations and just listening. It's been great.
It's been so good. Do you have
Just
anything
means you
to
have to
say?
do it again.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, as Loki might say on this, it's been getting real. Like, this has been a good conversation. Guys,
That's right.
thank you again so much. Guys, like I said, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Hey, if you want to connect with Topaz or I, he is pretty much in the chat in the pumpkin patch all the time. You can do that on YouTube. If you're watching there right now, you're already there. 82% of you are not subscribed. You know who you are. Subscribe. You need to do that because 82% of you are watching videos and not subscribing. Well, that's like eating Oreos without milk. Don't do that. That's a bad idea unless you're lactose intolerant. So do that. Or like we said, the best way to connect, twitch.tv/WebbyPumpkin. Would love to hang out with you guys over there. I'm also on Twitter X. You can find me at WebbyPumpkin there, at me. And now the emote, comment whatever you want, but if you can't think of anything, on my comment section, I want to see an emoji of a pony. I don't think there's a Loki emoji, and a coffee cup. That's what I want in my chat, in my comment for this. So would love to hang out with you guys on any of those spots though. And if you find yourself in the pumpkin patch on Twitch, there's a really good chance at the end of the stream you're going to find yourself into one of these ladies' chats because we love to raid the ponies. The Pony Club. We love to raid Loki and hang out with them. So yeah, definitely going to have plenty of opportunities to find these guys. Ladies, is there anything you'd like to add before we say goodbye? All right.
No.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
I'm really glad. Thank you guys for coming on. Topaz, you have anything you'd like to add?
No.
Oh, well,
just saying webs out.
I'm about to say, let's let them know. So Topaz has started this thing where at the end of the stream, we always say webs out. And I would like to allow our guests to do that. So you may have to count it down, and I don't want to count it down because I'm going to be talking about it. But whenever you feel ready, actually do it one at a time so I can get you on camera. But guys, thank you for watching and hanging out with us. And
Webs out.
Webs out.
see you guys later.